So they stop and they hesitate, and they talk, and they're like, what are they doing? And then sometimes they run into each other or whatever. We get the same effect from what we call a slip pick. So he just goes here through, he comes around, defense jumps this guy, and the ball just goes to him. Okay? So we call that a slip pick rather than a hard pick. So those are two options. Yes, sir?
Do you have to teach a hard pick before they understand what a slip pick is?
Well, no. Actually, that's the thing, is you can teach a slip pick easier. A hard pick is harder to teach because all that, like, first of all, you got to be standing still. The dodger has to kind of set him up on the hard pick where he's got to go this way and then come around. The slip is just like, hey, we're just going to change. We're just going to just tell him, hey, don't touch that guy. That's the only rule in the slip pick, is that if you're the defender, I'm going to come through and I'm going to go right by you and not touch. So it's actually easier that I found to teach that in the hard pick. They just mess up the hard pick all the time.
So if that contact is even incidental, is that going to be a moving pick?
Yeah. Any contact in that should be a moving pick. And you're going to get some if you get run into, but if I lean my shoulder out like that, that's a moving screen. You'll have kids that will hold their stick out or throw their foot out, and it's because the guy running off the pick didn't do a good job. It's like, stand still, and then this guy runs way out there. So that's why we found the slip pick is just a little bit more effective, and you don't really have to teach a hard pick to be able to teach a slip pick, in my experience.
Can 5th and 6th graders learn that?
They can, yeah. And you can do a lot of this two-man game with it. So I did this on Saturday, actually. So I had a youth group that I was working with on Saturday, and we put 3 guys up here like this, and we'd pass the ball here. He'd come down like this, like he was going to set a pick. This guy would come over and he would just bounce this way. Okay, and so all he did was, if the defense went there, he keeps it. If the defense goes there, he throws it. So you put one defender out there, you go and you run, and then if the defender goes with the ball, he throws it. If he doesn't, he keeps it. So it's a really easy way to teach that. But yeah, I did that on Saturday with 5th and 6th graders. So. Okay? All right. Picks. Okay, V-cuts. Let's see what's happening here. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. V-cuts, C-cuts, these are pretty basic principles. V-cut is, hey, I'm going to cut in and cut out. I'm just trying to get away from my guy. The C-cut is a little bit more of a subtle move. The C-cut is I'm going to cut like this to get into my spot rather than running straight to it. And the reason for that is we want to draw the defender into a bad angle. So if I go here and I run this way and my defender follows me, he's never going to catch me. If I go from here to there, the defender goes from here to there. Does that make sense? It's all geometry, right? If I step away, so if you're guarding me and I step away from you like this and run out like this, and you chase me, you'll never catch me. You're always going to be behind me. Now you might break it off and try to go in front of me, which is fine too. Then I'm going to stop and just go back here. But if I separate myself from you in this cut, now I'm in control of options. If I run straight that way, you're going to run straight that way, and we're going to be even like that. So it's the difference of, I try to draw big. That, the defender's always going to be chasing, versus this, the defender's right there. I'm always going to be ahead of the defender if I can just do this little C-cut. It's a kind of a subtle move, but it works every time. And it's very, very underutilized. Even at the college level. Very underutilized. That idea of I'm stepping away from my defender and making him have to choose a path. Because he can choose that path right there. And if he starts to go that path, great, I'm going to break off and go back this way. I've created that space between me and my defender. So C-cuts are a really powerful way to move. The last thing that we teach is called getting vertical. We have only one cardinal rule in our movement. If I'm this player right here, and every single one of your players does this, so this is something that if you could get him to stop, it would be great. This guy's dodging down the line right here, and he goes out there. Why? He's open. I'm open. I'm open. I'm open. Yeah, you're open. because your defender stands right there. They don't care about you out there. Oh, but I'm open. Yeah, I know you're open. All you're doing is messing it up. So we say, look, our only cardinal sin is you can't go out and fade to the sideline. That being said, you can fade vertically. So we can fade vertically this way. Why? Because now we're putting pressure on this defender. Is he going to slide here to the midfielder, or is he going to stay here with his player? We've now put pressure on the defender, whereas we're fading out to the sideline we have. So we call it getting vertical. And that's a big part of what we do in our offense, is we'll bring this attackman down right in here, and then if the defender goes, he's going to sneak in here, or if he doesn't, he's going to drag it back there. And we move that defender with our attackman. Yes?
Are you always moving back behind?
Yes. Yeah. We always want to have somebody behind.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's not what I mean.
No,
You always have somebody behind.
Yeah. But we're always moving somebody into this space, because this is a relief pass for us, right? So no matter where we are, there's somebody that is, one of these attackmen is moving into a space here, or maybe it's this guy moving here, but there's always somebody moving into that space.
So if you're playing a 2-2-2,
Uh-huh.
and you have somebody on the right that's dodging
Uh-huh.
and going down,
Yep.
you have, say your little attack dude that's closest to the crease, he
Yep.
pops out to the, no, the other one.
This one?
Sorry, in front.
This guy? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He pops out to the left.
Yep.
Can this midi, instead of fading back, because you could have those two attackmen fading back, maybe,
Yep. There's a
could the
couple.
midi just come up?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. This
And
is.
is that still staying vertical? I
Yeah.
mean, you're not going to the side.
No.
But that was my question.
Yeah.
Can
So
you
this
come-
is a great move. He can come all the way up to here.
Yeah.
He's dodging. Okay. What we would do here is we would actually move this guy through, and then bring this guy over. If nothing else, to occupy the defense,
Right.
And then this guy is now settling over into this spot, because he may be a skip here. This might be a throwback here, okay? This guy then is an adjacent here, okay? And if a slide comes, it's probably coming from this guy here, so this guy might be a look as well. So, and that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to put any limits on where you can go. All you have to do is go to some space. So we run this very thing that you're describing, where we pop this midi all the way high, this guy fades down, he's coming, these guys exchange, this guy comes across, he exchanges, but we always have to have somebody here because he's an adjacent pass, he's an outlet pass, we call it a transfer pass, but you can call it an outlet or an adjacent or anything like that. But he's the help right there. So, yep, good question. Good question. Okay, so those are principles without the ball. Let me see. We're doing pretty good. Okay, so there's 5 governing rules that we put on offense, which is Dog starts the offense, we vacate the crease, the adjacent player can't fade, we just talked about, can't fade to the sideline. Okay? Or, so I guess there's really 2 hard and fast rules we have on offense. This guy can't fade to the sideline, and if I'm dodging with the ball this way, you cannot cut outside of me. Tell me why.
The defender doesn't need to make it.
Exactly. Defender, all I'm doing, I'm just dragging my defender right into the ball then, right? I have to get underneath here, and that will drag the defender. If the defender stops right there, that's great. Then he's just going to pop the ball to me right there. But if I go outside of him, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So the only 2 hard and fast rules we have: can't fade to the sideline, can't cut above or on the outside of the play. Okay. We try to always get the ball to the backside across the Z-line. Always try and get the ball across the Z-line as quickly as possible. So we can judge our offense about how effectively we get the ball across the Z-line. So we had an 80-second shot clock on Saturday where we took the shot with 2 seconds left. We had 15 passes, we had 7 dodges, and we got the ball across the Z-line 7 times. And to me, that was like a thing of beauty. It's like I almost cried. Because the ball we just kept moving. It's like we kept dodging. It's not there great. We get to the next side. He gets it across the Z line. We start again. We just kept going. We just kept going. Nobody got the ball and went, okay, what do I do now? Right? Which is every single guy, every single youth player I see, they get the ball, what do I do now? Right? Instead of, hey, I'm either shooting, dodging, or I'm just passing the ball to the next guy. Right? And then the last thing, find space. You can't be wrong if you're doing these things. Okay? Okay, so last thing, so this is just again kind of a summary of our philosophy. We're dodge first offense, we create off the dodge. So everything, all the opportunities, the 1, 2, and the 3, and the 4 S's, and all this kind of stuff is initiated only because somebody is dodging their guy. If nobody ever dodges, you're just hoping that somebody cuts and gets open. And it just isn't as effective. Our off-ball objective is simply to find space, prepare to receive the ball, occupy your defender. We create opportunities for every player in every situation if you understand those simple principles. Anybody at any time can get open. Anybody at any time can receive the ball from the dodger. Anybody at any time can be the shooter. The only guy that's really not the shooter would be this transfer guy right here, if he's getting the ball and needing to transfer across. But sometimes he'll be a guy and there's nobody over here and he's going to now dodge and try to take that shot. So we create opportunities for everybody. The last part is the hardest. They have to make it the best decision in any given scenario. That only comes with practice and time, and just there's no magic bullet to make it faster other than repetition. And again, I've tried to simplify it in a way that we can repeat the same things over and over, and guys go, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, oh, I didn't hit the skip. Oh, I should have hit the simple. I made the wrong choice there because the slider came and I should have hit the slider. So we can talk in those terms, and the kids go, oh yeah, I get it. You need to hit option number 1. Oh, you were off. You didn't have the ball, and you made a V cut. Maybe you should have done a C cut, or you cut through, or you set a pick. Maybe you should have done a slip pick. And they get those things once we do it. And there's only 7 of them that they have to know. Not 8. 3 things when you have the ball. 5 things when you don't. That's it. That's all they have to know. And that's our entire offense. And all of the principles work in any of those sets. So we can go out and we can be, hey, we're going to go to James. Great. We're going to James. That's the only thing we call. And then when somebody dodges, everybody moves. Hey, we're going to Clyde. Great. Somebody dodges, everybody moves. Right? Based on their options that they have available to them. Now, I tell my guys, if I have 3 of you doing the right thing at any given time, we're going to be successful.
I just was going to ask about that. So you got 6 guys out there. How many of them are good dodgers?
Yeah, I mean maybe 1 out of your 6 probably. If you have 2,
they all still have to do it.
Yeah. Now so I'm blessed because like right now I've got 8 guys that I'm like, maybe more than that, maybe 10 guys that can beat their guy. 10, and that's like probably more than I've ever had. 10 guys that can beat their guy. So we can start it anywhere, right? They don't have to necessarily be a guy that's going to beat their guy every time, but they have to be able to act like it, right? They have to be able to act like it, okay? So let's just use Cole as an example, okay? So Cole may not be the fastest guy, right? But he can act like he's dodging, occupy his defender, right? And hopefully draw the slide to get into the next guy. He doesn't have to beat his guy every time. All he has to be able to do is initiate some offense, dodging, where then the other players are now moving, doing their 5 things, and then he just needs to find them. So he doesn't have to necessarily beat his guy every time. We just initiate the offense off the dodge every time. That's a good question. Right? And Cole's a good example of that. Like sometimes he beats his guy, sometimes he doesn't. But if he doesn't, that's okay. It doesn't mean that he's been ineffective. He can still be effective as long as he's keeping his eyes open for the rest of his team.
Going through the sequence.
Yeah, going through sequence. Now, one of the things that we talk about, and it's really important, is when we dodge, we always use the term dodge with your head up, right? So, like a basketball player, when they're dribbling, if they're looking at the floor, they're not effective. They have to dribble and look at what's going on here. This is difficult for young players because they are so worried about the guy in front of them because he's hitting me with a stick. So I can't look past this guy because he's hitting me with a stick. You have to get them to look past the guy that's hitting them with the stick.
Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, so you know how,
I mean-
you know how, well, I can show you my car.
I coach from a basketball
Uh-huh.
perspective, so, you know, we don't have people hitting us.
Yeah, and it's different, it is.
So when I say do this, they're like, yeah, but coach.
So, we're gonna be doing this today at UVU practice. So we have our face-off guys. Face-off guys get hit with the stick a lot, right? And we have a guy who's doing really well, but he's having a hard time making that pass because he's getting beat on by 3 guys. So we've taken some long poles, put some, you know, the stone, the pool noodles, styrofoam on them, right? And we just beat on him. So he doesn't get hurt, but he's used to taking blows now, learning to protect his stick and make a pass while he's doing that. So that's just one thing you could do is, hey, get a stick, put some of those pool noodles on them. You can whack your kids a little bit, it's not gonna hurt them, right? And they get used to taking a little bit of punishment because they're gonna take some hits and some whacks when they're doing that. Do drills where they're required to keep their head up, right? So have some guys drive from X, you know, from behind, and they're driving, and you have 3 guys out there, 1, 2, and 3. And they have to pass it to whoever you tell them to pass it to, right? So they're driving 2, and they gotta find 2, right? They're driving 1, and they gotta find 1. So there's things that you can kind of drill into them that way, you know. My son became a really good example of this. Like he drives, so he plays attack, and he would drive with really no intent of driving to score. His intent was driving to draw the slide, and then he'd just pass it to his teammate. He'd be hitting guys in the head, because they weren't even paying attention, because he's like, oh, boom, right? The guy came, he's hitting in the head, they're not even watching, you know? So, but you can get there, and it does take some work, but there are drills that you can do to kind of help them mentally get to the point where they're looking ahead and deciding ahead. They do have to be comfortable with their stick in their hand. We're actually doing some drills at UVU right now. We call them stick protection drills. So we just have 2 guys get together really close. I have my stick, somebody right here, and he's just trying to get the ball away. We're not taking big swings, but he's right here, so he's, you know, digging in and he's kind of doing this, and you know, so you can do that with kids where it's not going to really hurt them because they're close together. You know, they're not taking big swings. It's I'm trying to dig in there, I'm trying to poke, and and they have to really protect that stick. We do need to teach our players to be better at protecting their stick and being a little more tough about having their stick near them and not being worried about the guy that's banging on, because there's always going to be a guy banging on.
How do you break this habit?
The one hand, oh.
It bugs me.
So, yeah, good, I'm glad it does.
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
So I tell I have 4 pet peeves. Cradling with one hand and getting the ball taken away. I'm like, look, if you're going to cradle with one hand, great. But if you get the ball taken away, you're going to hear from me. Running the sideline and getting pushed out of bounds. It just drives me crazy. I'm going to like tiptoe the sideline and go, woo, woo, woo. Just stop and go backwards. You know, there's no need to try to tiptoe the sideline. Not having a backup on a shot drives me crazy. And pushes in the back. Like, he pushes in the back with the dumbest penalty you can make. The guy's, you're looking at his back. Stop, you know, it's just dumb. Anyway, so just tell them that they're not allowed to use one hand. That's the only way to get around it, because they will. It's a bad habit, and I still, you know, we deal with that at the college level. It's like, oh, I'm going to have my stick out here, dink. It's like you just look stupid.
I think for me, it's just as much the 2-hand, but they have the 1 hand way down.
So
The head's sticking way up there.
that's a great. This is something that I'm doing a lot of now at the youth levels, is teaching them how to hold their stick. So we have kids that, yeah, they're like glued in right here. Like their hands don't move. They're glued in. They have to be able to move their hands up and down the stick, okay, and be strong here, and understand that, you know, when I'm picking up ground balls or when I need to be strong, my hand needs to be up here. Like, you can't get the ball away from me when my hand's here and I'm strong. If my hand's here, I have no strength. So you're right, the hand has to get up here. One of the things that I'm really watching now is kids and how they hold the stick. They have to, anybody plays golf or tennis, it's the same thing, right? You don't hold it like this. You don't hold a tennis racket like this. You turn your hand. Same thing with a golf club, right? You turn your hand like this. In golf, so you turn your hand like this, same thing. You turn your hand, and then this hand, most of them have